Right, so I think we left off on number 5, correct? Did we get through 4?
Yeah.
We're on number 5. All right, let's jump right into it so we can catch up and then get through today's stuff as well. Measure BGH, everyone on the diagram. If you remember, these lines were parallel to each other. Okay? BGH and GHD are in a ratio of 2 to 3. All right, so everyone find BGH for me. Angle B to G to H. I guess we'll stick a 2 there. We're going to stick a little more than a 2 there, but for now, because it's in a ratio of 2 to 3. And then everyone find where GHD is. G to H to D is the 3 in the ratio of 2 to 3. All right, before we set anything up, I told you Friday, you need to be able to do 2 things. Tell me the names of the angles, and are they supplementary or congruent? We got to be at that spot by the time we leave today. So those 2 we just labeled, BGH and GHD. Name them. Name them. They are alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, etc. What do I call those 2 angles? Look where they are. Say to yourself, inside or outside the parallel lines? Same side or alternate side of the transversal? Name those 2 angles we just labeled with a 2 and a 3. 18, what type of angles are those?
Consecutive interior angles.
Okay, consecutive. We could call them consecutive. I think I put same side interior, but they both mean the same thing. All right, so we've identified them. Same side interior. Now we got to know, are they congruent or supplementary? And that's on you guys. 2? Supplementary. So I know whatever I'm going to do here is going to add them up and set them equal to 180. Correct? All right, well, it doesn't make any sense to put 2 plus 3 equals 180. That's kind of embarrassing. Right? We did one and only one problem in our first unit with numbers or angles and a ratio. If angles and a ratio, we're just not going to put what numbers they are. We're going to put x's with them. Because I got to figure out what do I need to multiply 2 and 3 by, so when I add them together, I get 180. So anytime numbers in a ratio, let's put x's with them. And now we can solve them. 5x equals 180. X equals, let's see, 5 goes into 18 3 times with 3 left over, so that's 6. 36 for x. And is x what I'm looking for? Now for my final answer, it'll help me get to what I need, which is the measure of angle BGH and the measure of angle GHD. So plug in 36 for 2x, plug in 36 for 3x. So what's BGH, the 2x? That'll be 72 degrees. And the angle that's supplementary to it, GHD, will be 108 degrees. One last thing we need to take care of, right? Why did we set them equal to 180? And this is going to be going in the reasons column of your proofs today. We start out with parallel lines, because that was what I was given. Imply the arrow going to the right. Somebody remind me, what type of angles did I have here in this problem? So I say same side interior angles. And then you tell me what we know about them. Are supplementary. And tell me what type of angles you have and if they're congruent or supplementary. Questions? All right, flip it over. This is probably why maybe you couldn't do one of the problems over the weekend, because we did not get to the last problem on the notes because of the pep rally on Friday. Find x. Forget about the vocabulary term and the definition. Find x. What do we know about these 2 lines? Parallel. That's the arrow. Remember, the arrow means they're parallel. Here's the problem, though. You don't have alternate interior. You don't have corresponding. All those angles we talked about on Friday, you do not have. And here's the reason why. There's no transversal in the diagram. Hey! Is this a transversal? No, it's got to go through 2 lines. Is this a transversal? No. So you don't have a transversal to work with. So you're not going to tell me, oh, those are alternate interior. So that no, they're not. You need a transversal, and you do not have any transversals. So that's why I'm going to introduce this term, auxiliary line. An extra line you can draw in your diagram that's going to help you out. All right, so we are going to draw an extra line in a specific spot. Not, not going to draw that in. That ain't helping me. Right? Here's where I'm going to draw it in. Right in between the two lines that are parallel. So they're all three of these, including my auxiliary line, are parallel to each other. Well, why would you put it there? Here's why. Why couldn't I do this problem at the beginning? I didn't have a what? Is this a transversal now? Darn right it is. Intersects in both lines. What about this one? Is this a transversal? Yeah. So that's why I put it there. So now I have a transversal to work with. And before you guys think you're getting ahead of yourself and too smart, no, the auxiliary line does not bisect that angle. Does not. Sorry. All right, it will not. So how do I get up to angle X? We're going to take two at a time right now. Ready? Let's take those two parallel lines and this transversal. If that's 50, tell me put an angle somewhere else for me if that's 50. 17, put an angle somewhere else if that one's 50.
The angle vertical 50 is also.
I'm good. And I'm not going to, again, yeah, okay, I get it. We could put 130, 130. We get it. We could. Okay, we could. All right, I just got 50. What about that angle? What type of angles are the 50 I just wrote down and that one I just marked there? Look where they are. Inside or outside? Inside. Same side or alternate side? So those are alternate interior, correct? Supplementary or congruent? Congruent. So this angle is 50. Everyone see why? They're alternate interior, so they're congruent. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to raise the black shade here. Remember that angle was 72, right? I know part of it's 50. What about the other part? If that part's 50, what about the other part of it? 22, because it's got to add to 72. Keep working. Now look at these two lines with this transversal. 22 and X. Anybody remember what they were called Friday? They are called corresponding angles. What do you know about them? Supplementary or congruent? So X equals 22. Now look, hey, maybe you go about it a different way. If that's 22, this is 22 because they're alternate interior. And then that 22 and the X are vertical. Another way we could get to it. Okay? But that is drawing in auxiliary lines to make your life a little bit easier because you do not have any transversals until you draw in that auxiliary line. Okay, so let's go to, so there's no excuses here. Let's go to the one on the homework I assigned. And I will give you about a minute and a half to work with your group on it. Let me blow this up for you. Here you go. You guys, I assigned number 39 for homework. There you go. Draw in your auxiliary line and see if you can do anything with the 125 and 105 to find angle X now. The line does not bisect the angle, remember. All right, so see what you can do. Now that we just went over that problem on your notes and finished it, see what you can do with 39 in your group. See what you can do with 39. Draw it, yep, because you do not have there are no transversals in this diagram. So draw in your auxiliary line, same place we drew it in the notes, right in between the two parallel lines. Here we go, 39.
you get X. You draw the
105 on top, 125 on the bottom.
the X.
130.
That's the answer you should be getting. It's already up there. Yeah, that's my teacher edition. So, yes, you should be getting 130 as the answer.
And the acute angle is less than 90.
But the question is how you get there.
Okay, it's supposed to be 60.
So we get 125, right? So we know that vertical angle is 125.
Oh, right. I'm going to call on a number, and that group is going to explain how they got 130 from the final answer. So, be ready.
No. No, because we're looking at too much. So that's 125, right? That angle is 125. This angle, those are vertical. Yeah, that would make that 55. That would make this. That would make this angle 55, not the X. So it would make that angle right there 55. Then you also have to find this angle.
Wait, so this is
Yeah.
wait, so this is
That's 125.
Oh,
Yeah, times that.
that would be 75.
That angle.
I'm getting there.
You did a lot neater, exactly.
I was not here yesterday.
So how would you get this?
I don't even know what you did.
This angle.
No way.
Add.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Where's group 25? 25? Okay, here we go.
Okay, so
I have 105 and 125, so I'm using one of those two angles to put a second angle somewhere.
so
Okay, 125 is corresponding to the angle, like, yeah, there.
Everyone agree, those are corresponding. If I take these two parallel lines.
And then 105 is corresponding to the angle on top of that.
Everyone agrees these are corresponding by the top two lines. Your auxiliary and the given one. Yep.
And 105 plus 125 plus x equals 3.
Okay, I'm not doing the 360 way because I never brought that up. But I will find the angle next to it because they are what type of angles? Linear pairs. So that makes that 75. Linear pair to 125 will be 55. And now how can I find angle x? One of the numerous ways to do it. One of the numerous ways to find that that's 75 and 55. All right. Anything you want to run by me on 39 before I go over the rest of the homework? Which I could see a 3-day weekend wasn't long enough for some of you to do the homework. Why are we on honors? All right, what questions do you have? Let's go, Nick. What do you got?
45.
Okay, here we go. 45. I am not shying away from factoring this year. All right. So if you don't think you got an A game factoring, you might want to come in and see me. All right. There's only one type of factoring you're going to be responsible for, because if you remember in algebra last year, all right, if you participated, put effort into algebra last year, you remember there's multiple methods. GCF, difference of two perfect squares. I don't know, did they do grouping back in algebra 1 or not? Okay, I'm only responsible for one, and you'll see that method right now. Does it make any sense to try to come up with an equation with those two, y squared and x? No, I don't want an equation with two variables. So instead, I'm going to use y squared, 8y minus 15. Name those angles. Those type of angles are blank from Friday. Here we go. 2. What type of angles are those? Thank you. Alternate interior. Supplementary, congruent. Which one? 12. Alternate interior. Supplementary, congruent. No 12. Okay, moving on. How about 7? Alternate interior. Congruent. Y squared is equal to 8y minus 15. Got to start there. That's the geometry of it. I'm done with the geometry. Now it's your algebra skills from last year. You see squared. Whoa, heads up. You see squared. That tells me it's time to factor. But you didn't factor last year, I believe, until one side of the equation was equal to what? 0. Is that one side equal to 0? So we're not factoring right now. We will, though, after you move over the 8y and the 15. Well, Mr. Carlino, wouldn't it just be easier to move over the y squared? It would. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like factoring something that starts out being negative. I like my leading term to be positive. So how can I move over the 8y? Subtract it. How can I move over the negative 15? Add it. Now it's equal to 0. This is the only type of factoring you're going to be responsible for, is right here. You got to play a little game. Anybody remember that game last year? 2 numbers that do what? Multiply to, in this case, which number? The last number. So the 2 numbers you give me have to multiply to 15, but at the same time, add to negative 8. I always start with the numbers that multiply, and this is not a hard game to play because there's literally 2 sets of numbers that multiply to 15. 1 and 15, which is that ever going to give me 8? No. What's the only other option? 5 and 3. So I plop 5 and 3 down. How can I make them add to negative 8? Negative, negative. That's the only type of factoring I'm going to have you responsible for this year. We're still not there. I still need a value of y. So hopefully last year you remember once you factored them in the parentheses, you took them out and set each of them equal to. Good. So I actually get 2 answers here for y. Y equals positive 5, or it could equal positive 3. Either one. You get 2 values. I wasn't asked for just y, though. What other variable did I need? X. So what I need to do is take each of those y values. So let's start with y equals 5. If y equals 5, what's this y squared angle then? 25, because you square it. We're all good there? What's the relationship between the 25 and that angle x? Those are what type of angles? 23, what type of angles are those? Inside or outside? Same side interior. Congruent, supplementary. Which one? They are to 9? Okay, so if that's 25, x could be here 155. Okay, so when y is 5, x is going to be 1, what did you say, 55? Okay, 1 set of answers. But what if y is 3 instead? What's that y squared angle up here now? This y squared angle will be 9. So if that's 9, x would be 180 minus that, 171. So 2 different sets of answers. Yeah, I'm going to ask you to factor on tests and quizzes. I will warn you about it the day before when we review, but I will, yes. That's not even a question. Factoring is going to be part of it. So if you want to come in, I will generate a worksheet filled with problems of this type of factoring. Multiply and add. Others on the homework we needed to take a look at. Let's go. Because the expectation, it's getting tougher now. Okay, it's getting tougher. And some of us, unfortunately, might sink. Others we want to go over. Anything else? Nothing else previous to that. We're good with all the algebra. Okay, let me see it. And then we're going to hop right into the proofs today. If you have that sheet, that last sheet. Speaking of proofs, let's dive right into them here. Instead of throwing you right to the fire on a blank one, I'm doing one right now where I fill in the statements and I need your help with the reasons. Anything goes. You can use parallel line facts from Friday or any of those theorems on the sheet from Unit 2. Anything goes. All right. From Friday, how do I mark A parallel to B? What symbols do I use? What do I use to mark a diagram to show lines are parallel? Arrows, correct. So A and B get a set of arrows. C and D get a set. If you want to double up on C and D, you can. But if they're both going up or both going down, I think we know which lines are parallel. All right, because I filled in the statements, you guys see that it's going to be more than 2 steps. But why is it more than 2 steps? 1 and 3, are they alternate interior? Corresponding. Same side interior. Same side exterior. Okay, what am I trying to get at? 1 and 3 have no relationship from Friday. None. None. They're not any of the types of angles we talked about. So that's why it's not 2 steps that they're congruent. Right, so how do we get there? All right, I'm telling you in step 2, 3 and 2 are supplementary. Why? Look at angle 3, look at angle 2. Angle 3 and angle 2. I'm saying they're supplementary because what type of angles are they from Friday? 3 and 2 are? All right, let's hear from 24. 3 and 2 are what type of angles? Thank you. Same side interior. And I know they're supplementary. So my reason? We wrote this how many times on Friday? For a reason. What do I start out with? Parallel lines. That's what you're given. Imply. What type of angles did you just write down? Same side interior angles. And then you tell me what about them? Are supplementary. And yes, you do get points off if you don't put parallel lines. Because I take the parallel lines part out. This is not a true statement. Same side interior angles are not supplementary unless you have parallel lines. So yes, that needs to be in there. Next, why is 1 supplementary to 2? Look at 1 and 2 in the diagram. What type of angles are 1 and 2 in the diagram? Let's hear from 3. What type of angles are 1 and 2?
Angles 1 and 2 are
Inside or outside?
inside.
Inside. 1 and 2. Same side or alternate side of transversal A?
Same side.
Okay, put them both together. What do you got?
Same side interior.
Okay, there we go. So that's why they're supplementary, because again, they are parallel lines. Imply same side interior angles are supplementary. Same. So yeah, if I gave you a blank proof, could you have put in step 2 and 3 in the same step? Yeah, you could have, because it's got the same reason. And this is where it gets tough. Okay, then why is 1 congruent to 3? I don't want to hear that word. Substitution. Substitution is this. 3 is equal to 2. 1 is equal to 2. That's substitution, and they're not equal. They're supplementary. So there's another reason why 1 and 3 are equal. It's not substitution because I don't have them equal. I have them supplementary. This is where it's going to get tough. It's where some of you might get buried a little bit if we don't start doing the work. Buried. All right? This is something from last unit. John, what do you got?
Supplements of the same angle are congruent.
Done. 3 is supplementary to 2, so is 1. 3 and 2, both 3 and 1, both supplementary to the same angle. Got it. Told you, those things aren't going away. Supplements of the same angle are congruent. The proofs aren't getting longer, but your options for reasons are getting longer. Okay? The proofs will not get too much longer, but your reasons, all your options you have to put in there are getting longer and longer, that list. Anything you want to ask there? How we got to supplements of the same angle? All right, let's keep grinding. You got 2 more here to do with me before you do one on your own. AD parallel to FB. Mark it, arrows. AD parallel to FB. And then I have 2 angles that are congruent, which we will mark with what? What do you put on your diagram for angles being congruent? Arc marks. So CDA gets an arc mark, so does BFE. And then you can put everything in your statement's reasons. Whew. Start bringing Band-Aids, some of you, because it's going to get bloody. please look at the angles I'm trying to prove congruent. Everyone look at CDF. Everyone see that one? The big angle, the bigger one? And look at DFE, the bigger one. Now, some of you may say this. Oh, take a look. CDF and DFE, those two. Hey, aren't those are alternate interior, aren't they? They're inside the big angles, and they're on alternate sides of transversal DF. Aren't those they're alternate interior? They are. I'm telling you they are. 100% they're alternate interior. Why aren't they congruent though? Why isn't this going to be a two-step proof? Here's where I know where you stand here. They are all, I am telling you, yes, those angles we're trying to prove congruent are alternate interior, but they are not congruent at this time in the proof. Got something, Nick?
You need to first state that they're alternate interior.
Nope. I don't need to do that. I'm just asking why they're not congruent. And this goes back to Friday. What type of lines do you need for two angles to be congruent because they're alternate interior? What type of lines? Parallel. Did I tell you CD and FE were parallel? That's why they're not congruent in two steps. The lines need to be parallel for alternate interior to be congruent. Are CD and FE parallel? So that's why it's not two steps. We need to get there some other way. Some other way. Well, I do have a pair of lines that are parallel. And I told you for a reason they're parallel. Look for a pair of angles that might be congruent using those parallel lines. Dig deep. Let's go. Dig deep. If AD and FB are parallel, find me a pair of angles that are congruent using those parallel lines. Come on. You got it. Dig deep. Riley? What type of angles are those? Alternate interior. So they are congruent because the lines are parallel. Correct. So I have angle ADF congruent to angle DFB. How would you write this reason now? 3. How do I start it off?
Parallel lines.
There you go. Parallel lines imply what type of angles did we just say they were?
Alternate interior.
Angles, and then what are you going to tell me about them?
They're congruent.
Are congruent. There you go. Perfect reason. Anybody seeing why the bigger angles now are equal? What did I just turn this proof into? Addition. Yep, that's all it was. Addition. Oh, whoa! Do you have two quantities to add together? The given and the alternate interiors we just found. We're going to add those two together to get the bigger ones. There you go. No joke anymore, huh? Oh, geez, even the stuff from last unit. Yeah, even the stuff from last unit. That's not fair. Oh, sorry. Welcome to honors. Oh, what am I doing? I got to write the additions down. CDA plus ADF. Is that the one I want?
Yeah.
CDA, ADF, yep. Remember, act like you've been there. We've done addition a ton. Doesn't change. Doesn't change. Equals BFE plus DFB. Addition. And hey, shocker, even though we're in unit 3, guess what the next step's going to be? Yeah, substitution. I promised you that, and I'm keeping to it. And that's to say the proof statement. Got to use the parallel line given to give me some congruent angles. We got one more together. Any questions on this one? Because the next one's even just more of a beast. Doesn't get easier. AB parallel to CD. Mark it. Hopefully some of you, your eyes are lighting up on the next two givens. I don't know from our work in unit 2, but you can put in your statements, reasons, and we'll talk. Hopefully your eyes are lighting up on those next two givens and you know where this is going. but maybe not, which is fine. What's standing out to you in the next two givens? Bisects, right? How many angles are getting bisected? Ooh, 2 angles. Can you take a look at those 2 angles on the diagram? And anybody would like to inform me anything about those 2 angles that are being bisected, JEB and EGD? JEB and EGD. Can you tell me anything about those angles on your diagram? We got a name for them? Corresponding. Those are corresponding. Everyone see that? Those 2 are corresponding, which makes them? Oh, so wait. So we are cutting in half 2 angles that are what? Oh, so what should we know about those halves? They're also equal. This is going to turn into what proof at the very end? Halves of equal quantities are equal. Yes. All right, but there's still a bunch of stuff we need to put in between. How many angles we taking half of?
2.
And what did you just tell me about those 2? You told me about those 2, but did we write it down? Okay. Usually in Unit 2, I'd smack right in the givens that those 2 are equal, not in Unit 3. So you have to tell me what you're about to cut in half is equal to. So those 2 angles we're going to cut in half, JEB and EGD, are congruent. What would be the proper reason to put why they're congruent? Let's hear from 9.
Lines imply that corresponding angles are congruent.
Okay. So you got to tell me what you're cutting in half are equal. And we're still not done with the problem, though. What do you got to tell me about those 2 angles? They're congruent, and you're about to do what?
Bisect them.
Which means what? Cut them in half. So show me literally half of one of the angles, JEB. And look at your diagram now. What do you want to call that half of JEB? Because you got 2 options. Which angle do you want to call half of JEB? Because you have 2 angles you could call it, but only one we're concerned with in the problem. So half of JEB we'll call what? 22?
FEB.
Yeah, the one in the proof statement, FEB, not the other one. And then half of the other angle, that's congruent to it, EGD. So let's take half of EGD and call it, what do you want to call on your diagram half of EGD? 4? HGD. The halves of equal quantities ends the proof. What gave you the right to take half of those 2 angles right now? What gave you the right to take half of them? Not by halves of equal quantities. That's the finisher. 10?
Definition of bisect.
Definition of bisects. Yep, or bisector. So once the 2 original angles are equal, you show me you're taking halves. Now you can put those halves equal to each other. So put FEB congruent to HGD. And this is halves of equal quantities are equal. I might regret this decision. I might. All right. Especially with some of the crew in here. I might regret this decision. But tonight, my version of these proofs for homework are on Classroom. So please check them. Hey, notice what I said. Check them, not copy them. Check them, please. All right. If you did it a different way, I'd want to hear it tomorrow. If you did it differently than my answer key on Classroom, I want to hear it tomorrow because it probably could be correct. All right, most likely will be correct. So if you did it differently, bring it back tomorrow. Let's go. Start it up now.